have this?
Yes.
So you'll notice that she gave some wording on what the motion should be. And one of the things we're going to do, our main focus now for the rest of our meeting is to go through all the warrant articles, talk about them if we need to. We have to approve them to go to the warrant on the town meeting on November 8th. And Lynn, would you be willing to be the motion maker? So you would say, you would just basically read this. And if you
I would
could
vote that the finance committee,
if you could just be our motion person,
Okay.
would you be willing to
So-
take that role?
Let me make sure I get this right, because I'm not that,
do you want me to do the first one?
you do it.
Heather?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can you do all of them, Heather, or not?
whatever works, I'm easygoing.
All
I
right.
vote that the finance committee, because we're going to go through it, the fiscal, Gina, you're going to come up and talk about the fiscal transfers?
If you have questions, I will. We did run through them
Yeah.
last time, so I don't know if the finance.
So why don't you make the motion,
Okay.
and we'll get a second, and then we'll see if we have any discussion, okay?
I vote that the finance committee move to the town vote to raise and appropriate such funds of money as necessary to fund the following amendments to Article 2 of the annual town meeting on May 15th, which is not May 15th, it's November.
November 8th.
Well, you're making the amendments on the May 15th warrant.
Oh, on the, okay, so following amendments to Article 2 of the annual town meeting of May 15th, 2021.
Okay, that's a motion. We need a second. All right. Mike, next second. Sandy, you getting all of this? Oh, no, we
thought
have
we
a
were
note.
recording again.
We have a note taker now, don't we?
I'm
Okay.
lost on the timing.
This is the budget that already passed.
We've already passed, and so they're doing
So you're amending it.
increases to what we already did, because they have stuff. So remember, when we were here last time?
Yeah.
They came before us and told us why they need to have 50,000 for the tree warden, the treasurer's expense, the highway wages. Jean just told us about the $11,000 for the highway administrative expenses.
Yes.
So it's all of the different expenses that we didn't anticipate when we voted back on May 15th.
Okay.
Is what these increases are.
And then 2 weeks ago, remember, we went through a lot
I
of.
mean, this is already a done deal. It's basically just voting
It's-
to change the wording again.
Well, it's whether or not finance supports it or not for town meeting, because normally it'll tell us whether the finance committee agrees with what's going forth or doesn't agree.
And so this town, was the town meeting? I'm trying to remember the date. Is that, it
It's
says
the-
May 15th,
So that was
2021?
when it was
That
originally
was the
voted?
annual meeting. It was the 15th. So the numbers were voted on and approved at the May 15th. We're making these adjustments to increase to those numbers from the May 15th numbers.
Okay. So we're doing it kind of posthumously, if you will, or?
Well, we're just reacting to changes that were made in some of the numbers.
No, you're increasing the budget that was already voted.
Right.
So November 8th, we will be voting to, if town meeting approves it,
Yeah.
we'll be voting to increase the budget by these dollar amounts.
Okay, now I have the time and understanding.
Yeah.
So the town will vote to approve this or not approve this?
Correct.
We're just approving the warrant itself, right?
You're making.
We're recommending, we're making
Whether we
You just kind of lost me with the May 15th, 2021. I'm like,
Well, that was the original budget.
That was the original
So-
budget.
yeah. Okay, sorry, my bad.
So if the tree warden had 10,000 at that time, we're voting to give him another 50,000.
All right.
Wasn't 10,000.
Exactly, right. So we have the fire people here. I'm just double checking. So Chief, we have the $5,000 for the Plymouth vent system and garage doors. That's still a good number?
Yes.
Okay. I think is that the only thing for fire, Gene, that's on the,
They have further items on the warrant.
which one for those?
They're Article 4.
Oh,
and
right, yeah.
Article 10.
All right, why don't we'll take these out of order then a little bit, because we have the fire people here. Chief, you want to just come to the table a minute?
How are we doing?
Good. So you guys just introduce yourselves for the sake of the record, all right?
Ken Vincent, Fire Chief.
My name is Kelly Manning. I'm the Assistant Fire Chief.
So we're looking at Article 4 there, Chief. Is that still still pretty good as far as you can tell with the brush truck, et cetera?
Yes.
Okay.
So let me just speak to that a little bit. We got an Assistance to Firefighters grant. We apply for one every year. And they awarded us a brush truck. Was part of our capital, our overall capital, but you don't turn money away when they give it to you, so. There is a 5%. The grant's $250,000. We added to 15%, so we can get a truck that's a little bit more expensive and equip it a little bit better than compartments and things like that, and tools that we might need. But it's pretty much for the brush truck. We got 7,000 acres of forest land that we protect, and quite honestly, we've always done things together with duct tape and shoestring.
Well, originally, we had put in for $273,000, and we found that the maximum that the FEMA would award us was actually $250,000 for
Right.
that vehicle. And to get the vehicle that we actually need that will meet our needs, that's the reason we're requesting that extra money, because what we originally spec'd out was closer to $275,000.
They don't actually tell you that when you apply for the grant, and we applied, they gave us the maximum amount, but we didn't know what the maximum was. They just don't tell you that, so.
Okay. So anybody have any comments or questions on that Article 4 for the chief, or was it Kelly?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and then number 10, chief, under capital, we had a couple fire things. Any updates on those?
No real updates. I'm not sure how you folks heard, but we were struck by lightning. Our fire station was struck by lightning in June. It did a lot of damage. Some of it we probably haven't even discovered yet. Over time, we're starting to discover things IT-wise. We made it in a nick of time. The IT people had put in what's called a UPS, which is basically like a big surge protector. If that wasn't there, it probably would have caused a fire in the station. So we were very fortunate there. But it caused us to actually do a little bit deeper dive with the electrical system, because when we built that fire station, it was all a call department back then. So there was no living quarters or anything like that. We didn't have any computers yet. We didn't have washers and dryers for gear and things like that, so we added a lot of equipment. It burned out our generator when our emergency generator. Well, being a public safety building, you have to have an emergency generator. We found that it was way undersized, so after looking at the report from the electrical engineer, they came up with that number of $292,200. And then there's another $75,000 there for a roof that capital approved. While we're there, fixing the electricity, if you have water coming in, we had tiles and things, we had some contractors come out and look. And so capital had approved $75,000 based on a quote of $60,000 that we had, so.
Do we have any insurance on the fire station?
Yes, we did have insurance. They're covering a lot of the damages.
Yeah.
This is just basically the electrical system and the replacement of the new generator.
So we are getting some.
We did get the generator repaired,
Right.
but it's so undersized for the amount of equipment that we have. It's also in a constant, what they say, like a brownout stage. We don't have enough power, so the cardiac monitors that you guys approved a few years ago, they're very sensitive equipment, and if you have brownouts and surges, then you can ruin $60,000 machines.
Essentially, the generator that we have right now only is rated to run about 40% of our building, which isn't really good when it comes to keeping our computers and essential equipment like the cardiac monitors ready to go, so.
Now, would that be something that the highway department might be able to use, the old generator or something?
That I don't know. It's been repaired. I don't know if it'd be undersized, but
I think it's the life.
I wouldn't give that generator to my worst enemy.
Yeah.
We got the schools open.
Chief, how old is the fire station? When was it built?
it was built in the year 2000.
21 years old.
I don't remember anymore.
Okay, anybody else, comments or questions for the chief? Gene or Matt, anything to add to that? Okay. All right, thanks for coming in.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So while we have people in the audience, I'd like to just have them comment on the warrant articles as needed so they can carry on, and then we'll just go through them. The motion is still Article 1, though, correct? So
That's correct.
maybe we should just take them in order. That's probably
Well,
cleaner.
I don't
so.
know, I think if we could take it, if the highway department is here, and if there's something that's out of order, I think we should take it from them so they can go home. They've probably been working all day, you know.
Adam's going to be staying for a couple articles, though.
Oh, okay.
So if you do, I mean, if you want to finish Article 1,
I need a second.
I think, Phil, you seconded it.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay.
Mike Hudnick already seconded it.
No, Mike.
Okay.
Oh, that's
Then
right,
I
Mike.
take back my second.
All right,
Third?
so we have a motion.
I'll third it.
So Heather made the motion and Mike seconded it for Article 1. Anybody have any comments or questions on any of those items at this point? We went through a lot of it 2 weeks ago, some new information since, but. Anyone? Ready to vote on the motion?
Ready.
All right, so all in favor of approving Article 1 as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
So you're recommending Article 1.
Recommending Article 1. Okay, that's the word, okay. Now, before we take another motion, just for information, Adam, you want to talk about the oil spill and,
The library ceiling repairs, and I can talk about the oil.
yeah, why don't you come up and do those now, okay?
You want to start with either one?
Do you want to grab municipal stormwater system?
Yep, number 2, 2, 5, and 8.
John, are you here to speak to any other issues tonight or not?
The municipal stormwater management.
Okay, okay. Let's take them in order then, Adam, okay?
Okay, sure. So Article 2.
Yep.
You ready? Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yep.
So over the past few months, once a month, I do a walk around of every building. It's probably been the last 6 months I've noticed cracks in the ceiling at the library, getting a little worse. It's old horsehair plaster. We brought someone in to look at it, and basically it's horsehair plaster. If anyone's had an old house, you know, then it's got the lats underneath, and they kind of anchor to each other. It's coming apart. So the recommendation, the easiest, cheapest solution is to put new sheetrock up and replaster it all. So we have an estimate right now of $58,750, I think it is. I can tell you right now. Yeah, $58,575. That's the first one we have. We have more coming in. We're just waiting on them. So, and that's to, the steps are to, we need an electrician to take all the devices off the ceiling, a drywall hanger, a plasterer, a painter, and then put all the electrician to put everything back. Basically, those are the steps. It's all the first floor. It's 5 rooms. If you go in there, you can see it. So we're working on different contractors to see what the cheapest, whether, you know, we separate it all out or if we go with one person. That's what we're working right now.
You're still happy with that 75,000 then?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
It'll be, I believe it'll be under that. I'm hoping it'll even be under the 50, to be honest with you, as long as nothing else pops up when they're doing it. So.
Again, this is just information. We'll come to the motion later. Does anybody have any questions on this for Adam? Anybody in the audience, any questions?
Operationally, they're able to get in, do it all at once, and no
That's,
interruption of
yeah,
service? Or-
we're gonna have to shut down. They're gonna be shut down for a few weeks to do this. We're trying to figure out how we're gonna do it. You know, we can, you know, whether they want to work in the basement, if they want to stay, but they really can't be upstairs because they're gonna have staging. It's 18-foot ceilings in some rooms, 15-foot in others, so they're gonna have staging up everywhere. It'd be safer in case something falls for them not to be in there.
Probably have to move the show.
Some of them do. Some of them said they got the piece staging, so it sets up, they can go right above it. Yeah, which, I mean, that would be really nice, because a lot of those shelves are bolted down, you know, because of the weight and everything, so you really don't want to have to move them if you don't have to.
Have you had an electrician look at anything so far to see if maybe there's more that needs to be done than just taking stuff down and putting it back up?
So, yeah, he's already, we had a gentleman from town go in already, he's already walked through, and he said that's all it is. Take the devices down, that should be it. It's a heat detectors, lights, and there might be a couple ceiling fans, but those may actually not go back up.
You just kind of wonder
know.
if that wiring up there is
I know.
cold as the hills.
It is, I'm sure it is, I have no doubt, yep.
Let's not open Pandora's
Yeah,
box.
exactly. That's what ends up happening,
Then you have to-
yeah.
But then you have to open up the ceiling again to fix it after.
And that-
Sometimes it's a hell of a lot easier to do it when it's,
Well, and that's, I mean, that's why we try to give a little buffer with these
Yeah.
projects. But, you know, I mean, if it's something substantial, you can't really handle it. But if it's a few $1,000s because something has to change, you can do that. That's why we all try to give a buffer, so we don't have to come back into the townspeople and ask again.
Yeah.
Because it makes everyone look bad at that point.
Are the lights LED in there?
No, not at all. Nope, they're all fluorescent.
Any grants available on that?
We have Green Communities, which they have looked at a lot of different buildings, this fire station right now, different ones. They have to go with what saves us the most money. It's kind of like that's how it works. So they look at the payback. So right now, I think, Matt, we're looking at the schools. One of the schools is actually up, which will save us. It will get the money right, back quicker than the library, who doesn't have as many lights, so it takes longer for a payback.
Yeah.
But those are all on there. Same with the senior center. There's a lot of lights in the senior center, the same way the post office.
I mean, the adult social center.
Adult, I know, I keep saying it. Patrice hits me every time, believe me. Yes. But yeah, they all have paybacks, and so we go with the one that pays it back as quicker, so that way we get the funds back into our account. And I think that's it for the ceiling repair.
So everybody good on Article 2, question-wise, information-wise? All right. So Adam, what's the next one?
All right, we can, we'll go right in order. So Article 5 is the MS4, which is the municipal separate storm sewer system compliance. So Bill Cundiff always took care of this. We're kind of still working. We have a new gentleman that we'll be working with on this. But we hire a engineering firm that does all the, CEI, who does all the permitting, does all the annual reports for us for the state, all the filings. So basically, we do all the field work to get them all the info, and then we get it off to them. They put the whole packet together, the whole report, annual report, and send it off. So this is their cost. This is year 4. So it's $46,800.
Still a good number?
Yeah.
so they've been doing this
Okay.
for us for
Yeah,
5
this 4 years, yep. So it works out. I mean, they're really good at what they do, and they do it for many towns, so, and we're always in compliance, which is nice.
Okay. Any questions, anybody, on number 5? All right.
Okay, number 8.
Yeah, okay. So again, information only, but bring us up to speed on that.
Okay, so
The numbers.
As you know, we had an oil spill in the basement here. The insurance company was capped us out at $500,000. Looks like we'll be about $150,502 over that, which the town has to pay or fund. Per DEP, we have to still install some more wells outside, and we have to monitor for like 18 months after. So they have wells in the basement, there's some more that have to be put in. So we need the $150,502 to do that and continue with the monitoring program for the remainder of the 18 months, and also $35,000 to replace the equipment that's failed in the basement, that right now, doesn't have the pump or the tank. Everything that's failed is still there. They did take the pump and all that, the insurance company, to test it, and they got it to act up again, which was good. In my opinion, it was good. So I don't know what their course of action is going to be, but on our part, we're still responsible for the $150,502.
Adam, what do you anticipate long-term in terms of regular expenses associated with this bill? Is this kind of a one and done, or we're going to?
They're predicting this should be, as long as nothing else is found, this is the key, of course, that's what everything.
Yeah.
As long as they continue to find 0 in these testing wells, then this should be the number.
Okay.
If they find something else and have to do another course of action, DEP sets what we have to do. So we really don't have a say. We have to follow their instructions with this whole cleanup.
But going forward, if more stuff is found, is the town responsible?
Yes, everything over 500,000.
In total is up on us now?
Yep, exactly. We're at this point, actually, I can tell you exactly, the costs at this point are $148,465, which leaves us with, $163,312. And let's see, there was $12,809 remaining from the insurance cap, which puts us at the $150,502.
I see.
So, and then we need $35,000 to replace the equipment in the basement, which will be tying in alarms, a new pump, a new tank, and all the stuff that should have been there in the first place, so this doesn't happen.
So if our fellow townspeople approve this, what's the time frame for getting stuff done?
So the equipment itself, I've already received two prices. I need one more because it's under 50,000, and then we can choose from there and go, which would be great because I have to fill it manually with a switch every, so many days, and so I'd like it to be automatic again and be able to trust it. That would make
Yeah.
me feel really good. The wells and all that are based on weather and everything outside. If by the time we get going, they want to drill outside, it may be spring for the outside, but they might be able to do the couple on the inside during the winter, so which works out. But they tested the current wells down there. They had good news, said they didn't find anything, which was nice, but like I said, until we drill outside and really get into it, we won't know. I'm optimistic at this point, but I'm hoping for the best.
What's the lead time on any new equipment that you have to get?
Right now, it's 6 to 8 weeks, yeah, at this point. But I'm hoping like it'll be faster. Once I can get the go-ahead on this, I'm hoping we can move faster. Everyone's busy. Everybody I talked to trying to get quotes, they were all busy. They didn't, and they don't have the job, so that, they don't really want to give you the time of day at the moment, but you try to get them out here to get it done.
Okay, anybody else? Comments or questions? Anything else for us, Adam, on the
Nothing.
list?
That's it. I think everything,
Okay.
that's all I have.
Did you have something, John, you wanted to say yet or not?
No, you covered it all.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
All right. Anybody else in the room we need to hear from? Other than Matt and Jean? Yeah.
Article 9?
You want to come up? Again, information only, everybody. Just getting ready to go through our motions. Oh, the zoning, yeah.
Yeah, the zoning.
Okay. So for the record, your name and position?
Bob and Eric, 107 Cedar Street. I'm with the Economic Development.
Okay. Go ahead, Bob. So,
The EDC was approached. We made a recommendation to the planning board to change the village residential. The existing zoning bylaw has an N for not allowed. We recommend to the planning board to change that to SP for a special permit by the planning board. The existing bylaw has BA in RC1 and RC2, which is special permit by the zoning board. The planning board then made a recommendation on top of our recommendation to change the BA to SP, so it'll be special permit by planning board for all three districts, RC1, RC2, and
see.
BR. So the only real change is under village residential, an N to an SP. The Ys
Gotcha.
are already there.
yeah.
And the reason for going to special permit is so we can keep an appeal in town. Because if the zoning board issues a special permit or denies a special permit, you cannot appeal that in town. You have to go to a land court.
Right.
Excuse me. So by changing everything to SP, planning board, if it's denied, the appeal process stays in-house, in town, to the zoning board.
Bob, was there something that triggered this specifically, or was it?
There's some
Just
interest in
looking at
some...
the bylaws and
There's
thought-
some interest in properties in the village residential for, not really a restaurant, but a restaurant type of facility, which kind of triggered the discussion.
Okay. Matt, comments on zoning? You have feeling one way or the other? Okay. What do you think, Bob? Is it a good idea?
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think we have some buildings that could be renovated that won't affect property values, and I think it's just a good idea. It makes business sense to do it.
Okay. Comments or questions, anybody?
I think it's a good idea because we get more tax revenue. In the finance committee, we know we need all the money we can get.
Exactly.
Okay. Anything else?
Agreed.
That's it.
Okay, well, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Good luck.
yeah, thank you.
All right, so now we're going to go back to our motions. Heather's our motion maker.
Yes.
And
Beyond my
you guys can take
ability.
turns seconding them if you want, but the motion, I guess, Heather, is always to recommend, right, Jean? That's the word?
Yeah.
We,
Finance Committee recommends to,
then whatever it is, right? So Heather, should we start with number 2?
Make a motion that the finance recommends that the town vote to transfer the sum of $75,000 from free cash for the purpose of ceiling repairs and all associated costs at the Simon Fairfield Public Library.
Seconded by Mike Hutnack. Any discussion? Questions, anybody? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is unanimous.
I make a motion that the Finance Committee recommends that the town vote to transfer the sum of $35,000 from free cash to the other post-employment benefits OPEB account. And I know Matt talked about this when we were here before. It's always underfunded, right?
I'm sorry?
The OPEC?
Okay.
This was part of an analysis of free cash.
Yes.
So we look at what closes, and this isn't the entire amount that closed from the general fund to free cash at the end of the year, but it's a part of the waiver and the opt-out.
Okay.
Every year we do an annual appropriation, and then we try to do a supplemental to
Yep.
look better with the bonding agencies.
Is this the kind of thing that happens every year?
It is, it's a
Okay.
housekeeping thing.
Standard.
as
It's
far
pretty
as that is.
standard.
Okay.
I'll
So-
second that too.
Mike Hutnack seconds. Matt, did you want to comment on Article 3 at all?
No.
Okay. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries unanimously.
I make a motion that the Finance Committee recommends the town to vote to transfer the sum of $40,000 from free cash for the purpose of funding the purchase of a brush truck and all associated costs with equipping the vehicle, which shall supplement the AFG fund of $238,095.24, the same to be spent under the direction of the fire chief.
Second.
Mike Hutnack seconds. What's AFG mean?
This is the fire grant.
Firefighter grant.
Oh, it says it right there. All right. It's been a long day, everybody. So, okay, gotcha. Okay.
We're a lively bunch, aren't we?
All right, any questions on that motion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion is unanimous. Heather, you're doing a super job there.
I make a motion for the Finance Committee to recommend that the town to vote to transfer the sum of $46,800 from free cash for funding year 4 of the municipal separate storm sewer system compliance services.
Second.
Mike Hutnack seconds. Discussion, anybody, questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Let the record show that Howard has just pulled in. Welcome, Howard.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Sure, sorry to run late.
All right. We're struggling without you here.
I doubt you are.
Matt, can you speak to 6 on the bylaw? Anything we need to have clarified for us?
I'm losing track of everyone I've presented this to. I did it here?
We
I
have
think we
seen.
heard about it.
Yeah, so I don't have anything to add.
Okay.
Well, the details on it, I think we were going to,
Were you waiting for the language?
yeah, we were.
So the way the language is written is you get a prorated share of 1 week of vacation, prorated by your start date, and it would not be inclusive of probation. So the most vacation you could get in year 1, if you're a brand-new employee and you start on July 1st, would be 4 days, because you lose the first quarter for probation, and then it would be 3 quarters times 5, which works out to 4 days, rounding up to the next full
Right.
day increment.
Okay.
There's just it helps me recruit senior people to directorships. They may be coming from a job where they get 3 or 4 weeks a year of vacation, when we typically award 0. So this would get them 4 days, plus their personal day, so 7 total.
So the language as it's written here, Matt, is as specific as it needs to be, correct? The 90
Yes.
days and so on, okay. Any questions for Matt? Anybody on this? Okay, motion maker, are you ready?
Sure. I make a motion that the Finance Committee recommends that the town to vote to add the following language to the Douglas Personal Bylaw. Beginning in fiscal year 2022, add to the section 7 as a new subsection A with the following subsections renumbered/lettered as needed to read the following effective July 1st, 2021. A newly hired full-time employee and regular part-time employee shall be awarded the prorated share of 1 week of vacation beginning with the end of their 90-day probationary period to the beginning of the next fiscal year, rounded to the next highest half-day increment.
Okay, second, Mike Hutniak. Thank you, Heather, for making the motion. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained, motion carries unanimously. How about the next one, Matt? Any comment or clarification for us?
Unless you do, because I think we went over all of
Yeah,
these.
yeah, so nothing has changed or?
No.
Nothing different, okay. Heather?
I make a motion that, for the Finance Committee to recommend that the town vote to change the personal compensation chart effective July 1st, 2021 by reclassifying the system, water and sewer from M-4 to M-5, and to add COA administrative assistant/outreach assistant to MS-2.
Second.
Second, Mike Hutniak, thank you. Discussion, anybody? Questions? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, Heather?
I make a motion that the Finance Committee recommends that the town to vote to transfer the sum of $200,000 from free cash for the purpose of cleanup costs arising from an oil spill in the municipal center basement, to include replacement day tank and pump system and all associated costs.
Second.
Okay, Mike Hutniak, seconds. So we've heard a lot about this over the last month or so. Anyone have any final comments or questions on this? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries unanimously. All right, Heather.
I make a motion that the Finance Committee recommends that the town to vote to amend the use table of the town zoning's bylaws as written in the warrant. And you can see the example, I'm not going to go through that.
Right, and then we just heard Bob explain, and the reasoning was to, if there was some kind of an appeal, to keep it within the town.
In the house.
In the
Yep.
house, right.
Second.
Okay, Mike Hutniak, seconds. Any more questions or comments? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries unanimously. All right, so we have capital. All right, Heather, why don't you go ahead and,
I make a motion that the Finance Committee recommends that the town to vote to transfer the sum of $367,200 to fund the following capital projects: fire station electrical upgrade and replacement of the generator and all associated costs for $292,200, the fire station roof replacement and building weatherization and all associated costs for $75,000, for a total of $367,200.
second, Mike Hutniak, thank you. I actually went over there today to just look at it.
I think there's. the
There's
rest of
more,
it. Yeah.
there's more. The funds also
Okay, yeah.
include the following transfers from previously approved capital projects which have been completed and closed for accounting purposes, with the following balances, with the remainder coming from free cash as noted. The
Yeah.
post office, which is $11,000, the highway dump truck and sander, which is $9,482.05. Total transfers to be for the completed projects is $20,482.05. Transfer from free cash is $346,717.95. The total of transfer from all the sources is $367,200.
Which matches that number at the bottom of page 2, correct? So, thank you, Heather. A lot of verbiage there. And Mike, second.
I still stand by my second.
You stand by your second. Any more questions or comments on that? And Jean, with free cash, we're doing okay?
I was surprised no one asked that. But you received an email.
We received an email.
Yeah.
So if we read the email, we got the good news.
And I would like to update you at a future meeting about the sources of free cash, where it came from, the balances and
Okay.
coming back.
But not tonight.
Not tonight, but
Okay.
the free cash certification was $3,439,772. If all articles that are on this warrant pass at town meeting, we would have transferred $743,517.95.
And historically, is that about normal? I mean, are we,
This is high, and you will hear my story at a subsequent.
okay.
Gene, transferred in to free cash? You said we would have transferred.
Oh, I'm sorry, out. So
Out.
these articles are using free cash as a funding source. So this will reduce the free cash
The
balance.
3-4 number by the second number you gave.
Correct.
Okay.
If all articles pass, it would bring free cash down to $2,696,254.05.
Closing out the June 30th fiscal year, correct? The
The free cash
previous.
that was certified was for FY '21, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
So stay tuned. I don't want anybody here we found money or that this is a high number until we hear the story.
And we await the story with bated breath. All right, so the motion's been made and seconded with all the detail that Heather included. Any questions on the motion, anybody? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstain. Motion passes unanimously. All right, so now we have Article 11, and we have an email that Jean passed out before the meeting, including from our town attorney, it looks like. And the wording, Jean, that you gave us is a little different than,
It is, and I'm going to let Matt tell me exactly what he would like in the...
yeah, Matt, can you speak to Article 11?
There are just so many words for such a simple thing. But I don't think Howard heard this explanation. I know Mike didn't, so I'll just do it really quick. Whiten Estates is a subdivision that was approved quite some time ago as a so-called flex development. So in other words, the developer is being allowed to build more houses on smaller lots. In exchange for the opportunity to do so, he donated some of the land around it, around the edges of his subdivision, for conservation purposes. The very first house that was built on the edge was erroneously built kitty corner to the lot line, creating a zoning problem because he's in the setback. I'm not going to tell you by how much. Let's just say it's not a lot, but a violation's a violation. In order to correct this problem, the recommendation is that the lot line be pivoted on a point, which will result in the landowner giving the town some land. So town meeting has to accept the gift. It also results in the town giving some land back to the landowner, which is basically the disposition of property through a process. This is basically a swap.
Or we could move the house?
No.
Okay.
We could take a concrete saw and try to do that, but it wouldn't be a structurally sound. So all of that results in a lot of words, but the way council advises Article 11 to be written, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to convey a piece of land identified in a filing in the office of the town clerk as Article 11, land being conveyed, and to ratify all necessary predicate actions regarding transfer and custody and change of purpose.
Transfer and custody, huh?
Yep.
Okay.
Transfer of custody.
Okay, gotcha, yeah.
Yeah, transfer of custody and change of purpose. And to further authorize the Board of Selectmen to receive a gift of land to be held for conservation purposes,
Okay.
said property being as described in a filing in the office of the town clerk as Article 11, land being received, or take any other action relative thereto.
So everybody, if you have this that Gene handed out before. There were a couple changes in that.
I wanted to be more precise about the land that we're getting. It was donated as conservation, it has to stay conservation. It
Okay.
can't be general municipal purposes.
So on the third line, there's just that typo, it should say of.
Of.
And then the fifth line, you should cross out general municipal and put conservation, correct? Okay. Comments or questions for Matt, anybody? Heather, so we need that motion to be made with the correct wording. You up for it?
Sure, I can take a wag at it again. I make a recommendation for the Finance Committee to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to convey a piece of land identified in the filing in the town, in the office of the town clerk as Article 11, land being conveyed, and to ratify all necessary predicated actions regarding the transfer of custody and the change of purpose, and to further authorize the Board of Selectmen to receive the gift of lands to be held for conservation purposes, said property being described in the filing of the office of the town clerk as Article 11, land being received, or take any other action relatively thereto.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Second.
Mike Hutnick, seconds. So this warrant, that the draft, this will all be reworded then for Article 11, then, correct? Any comments or questions on that, anybody? Make sense, more or less? All right, let's have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries with the corrections as noted and the additions. And then Article 12, Matt, can you just explain to us what's going on with eminent domain there? Is that going to be on the warrant on November?
Yeah, it has to be. So the town sold in good faith, after research had been done by our certified appraiser, a piece of land on Gilboa Street for purposes of economic development. It was 17.7 acres. The buyer went out and surveyed all of the component pieces of that bigger lot, because there are a couple of different lots. And in so measuring, determined that there were 3.09 acres that are unaccounted for in the meets and bounds of the deeds that we had associated with the 17.7. There's considerable back and forth, more traffic than I care to even try to summarize, around the actual status of that 3.09 acres. There appears to have been a party that at one time intended to gift that land to the town, but never filed the deed at the registry. It is possible, I'm not saying it's what happened, it is possible that one reason why that deed was never registered is that after doing a title search, the party realized they didn't own the land that they were attempting to transfer to the town. And thus the ownership, if we traced it back to the last owner of record, frankly, thankfully, is still alive and is potentially willing to convey the land to the town, but we've got to settle all these title issues. One way to do that is to have an authorization to file for eminent domain and to offer a value to the latest owner of record and see how it all works itself out. Because there's a cost associated with fighting the town on eminent domain. You have to get your own appraiser, you have to go out there and measure, so you need a surveyor. So if you think you're going to make 10,000, but you're going to spend 15,000 to get it, you might as well just take the value being offered by the town, the so-called in Latin pro tanto. So this is on the advice of counsel. We've done every single step of this title research with the benefit of our general counsel, as well as a practicing title attorney who doesn't do anything else other than title work. So the article as drafted is a classic eminent domain article to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer and/or borrow a sum of money to acquire by gift, purchase, or eminent domain the Gilboa Street property so-called, as described in a filing in the office of the town clerk entitled Gilboa Street Acquisition, Article 12, and to take any other action relative thereto. We've had these maps drawn, by the way, they're already on file, so if you're that curious. That 3.09 is almost exactly a square. It sits plop, spank dab in the middle of what we're trying to sell. It has almost no value standing by itself. So it's landlocked, it doesn't have access to any roads, it's undeveloped.
Jean, comment?
So Matt, because there's no dollar value associated with this, should we have them hold off on making a recommendation until before town meeting? Will you have further information at that time?
We typically would have a pro tanto in the article. The last time we did this was a year and a half ago, and it was $1, which I think is what we're going to do here. If you want to withhold your judgment, you can. Just bear in mind that we haven't cashed the check, but we have a check for $400,000 for the entire parcel, so.
So we're going to meet early on November 8 at 6:30. You want to take up this at that point? Because there's no dollar amount here, or?
When you say that's 400,000 is coming into us for the rest of the land, right? Is that what you're saying? The 17 acres, which we found out was more like,
We posted an RFP for 17.7. As it turns out, we don't have clean title to
Okay.
3.09 acres of that.
Right.
But the buyer who wanted the 17.7
yeah, right,
paid 400,000 for it.
okay.
But it hasn't closed yet.
No, because
Right.
they're not even willing to do a P&S contingent, so we don't have it.
So, but we do know who owns the 3 acres and they're willing to sell?
It is one of two parties. It is either Marlene Bosma
Yeah,
or the successors in interest to Ray C. Hall,
okay,
okay, of which there are 18.
right, right. Okay, so we don't know for sure who owns it.
Well, I feel like I know for sure, but I won't say it. That, right, as a matter of law, it is not certain.
It's not certain, okay, so the easiest way is to do eminent domain and that cleans it up. And then, I guess, if it comes to it, the court will probably decide on really what it was worth. Okay. Sounds like a good idea to me.
So what do you want to do, group? Should we wait till November 8 till we get a dollar amount attached to this, or not? I mean, Jean, what was behind your question? Why is that
Well, as you know,
worthy of our attention?
with all the other motions you had, I mean, it says a sum of money. I'm assuming the funding source will be a free cash transfer, so there has to be a sum of money associated with it. And I didn't know if you feel comfortable voting that without a dollar amount.
I think we should wait till we have a dollar amount. What do you think, group?
Agree on that?
So let's just,
Yeah.
At a minimum.
okay, Howard has a deep thought.
Well, Gene, your comment earlier was the 3.4 was before the 700 if all articles were approved. Did you have a dollar amount
I did
when you
not.
made that statement?
This.
Was your
article-
dollar amount theoretically then zero?
we just received this information. This was blank as of last week.
But your earlier statement was calculated on 3.4 minus 7 based on this article being a zero, correct?
Without even taking into consider this article.
Right,
Yes.
right, a zero, okay. And so we don't know, that would affect your comment earlier, your math that you sent us based on what this number actually is. And the article doesn't either propose a number or propose even a limitation yet, right, on what the number could be?
Right. A little bit more clarity on who we're dealing with kind of will change our view of,
Will all of that resolve between now and November 8th?
I'm hoping so.
Seems like the steps are out of whack here.
Thing
doesn't it?
is, it's not going to resolve until it finds its way through the court, quite frankly. So
Except-
I think we should just agree to do it right now.
Even though there's no dollar attached?
How's there going to be a dollar attached? They might have a dollar attached, okay, unless they get somebody who's absolutely willing to sell, then, okay, you got a dollar attached to what you think you're going to get. If they're not happy with that, they go to court, the court's going to make a different, probably something different. So you don't know for sure. But we got 400,000 coming in, okay? And we're not going to get that 400,000, and we're not going to get that project if this thing's not straightened out. So I say let's vote for it right now.
You do have to limit, this is the warrant article, so the warrant article is very broad. It tells you everything you can possibly do.
Right.
So you will have to vote to transfer from free cash a sum of money, and Matt is right, we had done $1 before, and that was for the Sullivan property. So if you feel comfortable doing that, or if you feel comfortable waiting until,
Gene, how do we do the
$1.
mechanics?
But once you put a limit of $50,000, I would ask for $50,000.
Right.
Right, true.
Or actually, I would ask for.
It should be
$1.
$1.
That's if we knew who the owner was.
But I mean, I would vote for $1, and that's then in a record that we anticipated that it would just be effectively a gift exchange.
Yeah. So the way, but the,
Public-
but-
Is this a public
Yeah.
project?
Yeah,
that we're
but-
looking at like a eminent
the
domain?
way this works is if the town votes eminent domain and we file that clears the title.
Right.
So then what's left is a discussion over how much will the prior owner be paid.
Right.
But they don't cloud title.
Right.
The town takes the title. So with the Sullivan land, so I'm asking Gene for a historical reference. Town meeting passed $1 in pro tanto for the Sullivan land, but we've settled for 14,000. Did we have to go back to town meeting to ask for the 14?
we settled the 30, didn't we?
Whatever we settled for, it was more than $1,
Actually
so
paying for reserve fund transfer for that.
reserve fund transfer.
Sense, right?
Now, how does the money get into the reserve fund?
It's in the budget.
Each year would.
It's in your operating budget, so you have
50 each year,
45.
right? Yeah.
Was it 45 or 50? 50.
But Matt, in theory, because you said the 3 acres are smack in the middle of the 17, it could be 285
You got a nickel
when the court is
over
over.
the dollar right
No, because I think what,
Well, it could,
it-
because like you said.
I really don't
you're
think so, because-
authorizing that it be filed,
right.
and once it's filed, the land is clear. You own the land and you're
Right.
going to get the 400. Boom, done. Now you've got litigation potentially over what the value of what was taken was.
Right.
And that could be anywhere from $4 to $397,250. Could be.
Yeah. I mean, we know what we know what the appraisal was on the 17.7 as an improved unified
Your
lot.
appraisal.
Right.
The town's,
And our appraisal is the only one that matters until the other party goes and gets one.
which you said they would need to do if they want.
They would need to do.
Right. So therefore, there would be a scenario where the number the court finally adjudicated would be higher than the 50, higher than what's in the reserve fund transfer.
How long has this project been kind of on the table? I was on the Economic Development Committee, and I think I remember this being discussed 4 years ago, 3 years ago.
So isn't the question more whether finance wants to recommend that we do it? That we
I'm just
take
trying
the
to
property to get
understand
the
why-
400 under the.
Why the
theory
land
that
thing hasn't been squared away?
the backside would be
We've been
much
talking about
smaller.
this for 4 years.
Well, because a lot of times these title things don't come up until the last minute, all of a sudden like, oh my God, what's
Come on, that's the
this?
first thing you look at if you're a
No,
developer.
not the way these.
Who owns it?
Not the way these properties work, because they're so old.
No, I remember discussing this getting
Your
back.
perception is the number will be de minimis, a small number. Okay, all right,
Yeah.
okay.
Now, when it comes to land, guys, you got to realize, this is New England. This has been settled by, quite frankly, invaders who set up their own rules for divvying up the land.
Right.
And this particular part of town, there was a fluctuation in the border of Douglas and Uxbridge quite some time ago. And there was also an abortive plan in the 1950s to make this the town dump. And this is where a lot of the confusion comes from. There were parties on both sides of the Douglas-Uxbridge line that were donating land to the town and others were selling. And a lot of the deals were never truly consummated. And there are a lot of errors in the reporting, both on the Uxbridge side and the Douglas side. So when you come to a professional appraiser, they're only going to go back a certain number of years. They go back a certain number of years, they see a book and page, they go and they read it. Oh yeah, the town owns that, here's your appraisal, you go and you sell it. Then the buyer goes out and measures it and says, wait a minute, there's this ghost land in the middle.
Right.
And now you're going back to deeds that are handwritten that go back to the 1800s, trying to figure out when was the last time these drinking buddies switched the land between the two of them. And this is where it happens. It happens at the very end of the process, not the beginning.
And that's why eminent domain will clear it up.
Yep.
So can't the town effectively at special meeting appropriate $1, and then if a year from now or 5 years from now it's a higher number, that's just an accounting event? It's got to go before the
Right.
town at that time.
Right.
In some way.
Whether it's covered within reserve fund
Or town meeting.
So we took in the 400 now.
In the meanwhile, I wouldn't go spending the
How
$400,000
would you
thinking you got
change
all this
this
free
wording?
found money.
Well, it hasn't been booked because the deal was never consummated. I'm telling you, that's what they offered.
Right.
So that free cash number that we were talking about does not include 400,000.
400,000 going in.
Right.
Right, but in a
400's
minute,
for the 17,
if-
whatever, right?
Yeah.
but in a minute, if we recommend and then town meeting approves, Gene's number will change by $1.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Or you can raise and appropriate. I'll have enough on the raise and appropriate if you want.
I think I like the $1 because it sets the concept of the
Yeah.
pro tanto, right?
So how would you change the wording as it's written, to put $1 in there?
The sum of $1 to
For the sum of $1.
Well, right? And then,
The Finance Committee makes a motion to recommend that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1
yeah.
To acquire by gift, purchase, or whatever.
Yeah.
Heather, you got
No,
that?
Right, so the exact wording, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer, and/or borrow a sum of $1.
Yeah.
well, you have to limit that choice, so it's just raise and appropriate in the motion.
Right,
Get rid of transfer and borrow.
No transfer? Okay.
and not borrow.
And then the wording stays as it is?
Yep.
Heather, you got all that?
Yeah.
So we'll raise and appropriate the sum of $1.
And then just later, if there's a bigger number, we deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everybody clear on what we're doing here, what we're proposing?
thank you.
I'd like to try to borrow $1, though.
So-
Go to Wall Street. You got 50 basis points on $1
So
bill.
Article 12, Heather is going to move it as it's been changed. Heather, go ahead.
I make a motion that the Finance Committee recommends to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1 to acquire by gift purchase of eminent domain, the Gilboa Street property, so-called as described in a filing in the office of the filing of the town clerk
Of the
titled.
town clerk.
Of the town clerk, titled the Gilboa Street Acquisition / Article 12, and to take any other action relative thereto.
Yeah, that second filing was, it says described in a filing in the office of filing. So you just take out that filing before the words town clerk. Did you see that? All right, everybody good?
Yes.
Did Mike get a second? Okay. Discussion? Gene, final comment on this, or Matt? Okay.
I am definitely not for eminent domain selection on this one. I think the due diligence should be done up front, and they should offer whoever they find out the landowner is, the money. If they refuse, and then they're stopping a project, if it's a public project of some sort, then let's move forward with it, but just because it's a procedural thing, we're gonna say, let's take land by eminent domain?
Well, it's one of the options, right?
Yeah.
Gift, purchase, or eminent domain.
Yeah. So I'm not, for that reason alone, I'm not for it.
All right, so we have a motion made and seconded. Any more discussion on the motion, which includes the sum of $1?
Before we vote,
Okay.
can Matt just address Phil's point, just very briefly on why it has come down to an event? The way you seemed to outline it was that we were ready to sell it. We had a deal for it. We thought it was all ours. Nobody had protested it wasn't all ours. But just upon title work and surveying, it turned out that it may belong to someone else. But has anybody been paying taxes on it?
Nobody's been taxed on it, and
30, 40, 50 years?
nobody's ever come forward to say that they want it to be part of this.
Okay, thank you.
Nobody's been using the land either. It's been essentially abandoned.
Squirrel habitat.
Okay.
Yeah, just,
Fair enough.
my only
No,
thing
I
is
get
it's
it.
a semantical,
Yeah, we're good.
constitutional
We're good.
process.
Yep, we're good.
Anybody else on the motion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Phil Landry opposed. Everybody else, aye. Motion carries. All right, everybody, we've gone through the warrant. Way to go.
Ta-da.
So I just have a couple more things before we have a motion to adjourn. Gene, we had a couple things to sign. Where are those? So just pick those up.
But two, right?
Two of them.
Did everybody sign the
Yeah,
two?
one's like 600 and the other one's like 150.
Were those yours?
And then,
Ben, yeah, I think so.
so Gene, we don't need to
Am I
meet on
supposed to sign that
October
too?
26th, correct?
No, you were going to discuss your message?
For letting me use your pen.
How did that,
I don't think it was
What's
great.
that?
Make your
Oh.
pen.
We'd have
Of course.
to add the members after?
I'll share it with the group. I wanted to get
Yeah,
your opinion
no, I
first.
like it.
All right, so the plan is, everybody, we're not going to meet on October 26th. Okay, normally we meet second and fourth Tuesday, but we won't. So we'd like to meet at 6:30 on November 8th,
6:30 a.m.?
before the town meetings.
Sandy.
We're gonna start at 4:30.
Yeah.
I'm up.
I can tell you Howard and I
I've
will
been
not
up
be there.
this past week at that time.
We'll not be there, though, at 6:30 a.m.
So 6:30
Oh,
PM.
the town meeting's at 7 p.m. I'm used to the field
Right,
meetings
right,
during the
right,
day.
right,
Yeah.
right.
And
And they're all alone.
Right, 4:30 in the morning.
so we have a couple,
Sandy.
so we have a couple things we're going to talk about. The first one is, oh, by the way, do we know the room yet?
I don't,
Oh, it's near the auditorium, right?
It's down the hallway.
Yeah.
First floor, down the hallway. Just
Take a right, take a
Don't go up
right.
the stairs, just go down the hallway.
unless they relocate us.
Yeah. So it's basically any loose ends that have come up or anything we need to do before the meeting. We have one set of minutes I'd like to approve. Sandy, I'm going to hang on to your executive session minutes for a while.
Okay.
Because if it ever gets resolved, then we can talk about those in public session. So we're going to just hang on to those for a bit.
Correct.
So we have just one regular meeting minutes from our last meeting. And then just something to start thinking about is one new building for fire, police, highway, or not one building, but I think there's some movement now to try to get some kind of ad hoc committee set up to start looking into that. So just something to start thinking about. I visited the fire station today and the highway department today just to sort of see what it all looked like. But
Pretty sad state of affairs at the highway department.
boy, I'll tell you.
It is, but, we only have 4%, our tax base isn't,
I know.
Building that's coming up on.
Gene, do you anticipate
It's been there. for a
anything
while.
else we'll need to talk about before the November 8 meeting, other than,
That's
big
why-
price tag.
Before that evening, no, approve minutes and, any other discussion on this town meeting.
okay.
And then maybe setting a date when you would start to meet again.
Is probably in January safe,
Yeah.
as we start getting ready for this annual town meeting?
You get
All right.
a long time to anticipate my free cash analysis.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I'm dying to hear
Put a whole
about it.
dissertation together.
Anybody have anything for the group? Motion to adjourn, anyone?
Oh, you missed.
What about
The
the
minutes,
minutes?
we got to approve the minutes. Would you like to approve the minutes?
No, we said we
We
weren't
want to
gonna hold that
those
off.
because of this executive session part.
Well, you're going to hold the meeting till the November 8th, but you were going to discuss your message? No?
I'm just going to email it to everybody, so.
Oh.
The September
Well, they can't-
14th
They can't
meeting
discuss
minutes?
it amongst themselves and break open the meeting law, though. You're just going to report back to you?
I guess, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Gene had asked me to write a message to the citizenry to go on the warrant, and I was channeling Howard as much as I could.
I gave him your example, Howard.
And I'm going to just send that
Which
to
I
all
got
you
from
guys,
you.
and you can respond and tell me what you think of it.
Okay.
But I forgot to have that printed out for tonight, so.
That's fine.
But then the minutes of our regular meeting, we'll go over those on November 8th, okay?
And that was the meeting that I missed,
Did you?
because the last,
September 8th to
So
14th.
unlike you,
because that,
Yeah.
Well,
You were in
I've always-
Italy or something?
You're
I
always
was,
here.
That
but
was an important meeting, Lynn.
I know, well, I'm sorry. It was-
So Gene, are we ready to adjourn?
I
as
wasn't
far
there
as-
either.
Somebody make a motion then?
So moved.
Mike Hutnack moves, we adjourn.
Second.
Seconded by Heather Moore. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous, we adjourn at 8:38.